Hi. Hi. We're going to talk about cave paintings. Native Americans. Native Americans, man. We're going to talk about cave paintings and Native Americans. Yeah, Native Americans. Let's put on some cool music in the YouTube library. Let's put on some cool native music, man. Oh, I gotta hide my YouTube library so you don't see how much money I'm making on it. I'm gonna put some cool Native American music on. Native American. We're gonna talk about Native Americans and like native people, Indians, cave paintings. Shit, man, shit. Put some shit in what you drink and drink it up. Shit, man, shit. They're trying to fuck me up with all that anxiety. Who gives a fuck? It's not real shit. It's not real shit, man. They can't hurt me with their meanness. Doesn't do anything to me. This is the first world last time I checked. Your words can't hurt me. Sticks and stones might break my... Oh, shit. Don't break my bones! They used to do that in Jesus' time, but they don't really do it that much nowadays. Who cares? They call me fat as shit. He's fat as shit. He's eating shit. Fat as shit, eating shit. Same shit. Don't worry about it. It's anxiety, man. I'm a real nerd. I'm a real nerd. We're talking about how Jesus... Jesus helps those Native Americans to get into heaven because they're the least. In many ways, they're poor or were poor. You know, some of them are rich now. They own casinos or whatever. You know, of course, some of them are rich, but in the old days, they were poor. They had things minimal. And they didn't call themselves poor. They had all they would need and more. And they got into heaven, I guess, for being righteous and kind to others. But less likely than those who have God and Jesus. And we're going to talk about Native Americans. I'm going to put some Native American music on. Native American. Ooh. It says dark. The genre. It says really dark. I'm not going to play that next one. Okay. Okay. Cherokee Indians. Ah! Here's an old one. Whoa. Looks like the 1890s. Look at that old piano on the right. That's a really old one. Or it's in a backdrop they use for the photography. Okay. Now, did these guys really get into heaven for being minimalistic? for being the least in turn, you know, for they didn't have a lot of money and riches, and that helped them to be righteous even though they didn't have God and Jesus. They maybe had God, but they usually didn't have Jesus. Some of them had Jesus. How about this guy? He looks like he's ready to go to war. He looks like... Can you see this? Ready for a war. It looks like he's gonna go from this to being in the army. Or you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't. He can't. He might be a really kind, godly person who goes to church and believes in Jesus, and he likes his Native American heritage. Or maybe not. You have to look up what this stuff means that he's got on. I don't know. Here's a good old one. They lived simply. But how did they get into heaven? When they didn't have Jesus. They had to be poor. Back then, there's only way without Jesus. And they had to have, they didn't call it poor. They thought they had plenty of food and stuff, and they lived in their adobe. What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you think he'll get do you think he'll get into heaven? Sometimes I don't know, you can't tell, because when they don't have God and Jesus, when people don't have God and Jesus, it's like being really in the dark. And they're more likely to mess up. But maybe a lot of Native Americans got into heaven. Let's see what they believe. Religious beliefs. Maybe they got into heaven. Whoa, scary. Their ideas of religion were everything to them. They believed the world should have balance, harmony, cooperation, and respect within the community and between people and the rest of nature. Cherokee myths and legends taught the lessons and practices necessary to maintain natural balance, harmony, and health. Harmony. Now that's pretty essential to getting into heaven. Getting along with one another. Being kind to one another. That's how it is in heaven. There's no sin and everyone's kind to one another. And that's how we're supposed to be on earth. And forgive others, even if they're telling us we're a little mosquito flying around and they'll kill us. Wow, if they said they'd kill you, hey, they're a bad guy. But if they do it in their first world way of saying you're like a little mosquito and they don't really say it, don't worry about it. It's just words, or just their way of pretending they said something mean. Don't worry about it and say, well, they didn't mean to. What's it gonna do? It'll go away. It's not gonna. Don't worry about it. You no need to try to prove like like when I was younger, I used to try to prove that they couldn't make fun of me, and I went and tried to be famous. I tried to be famous in Los Angeles because I thought I wasn't popular enough or something. And then I came back to the same town I lived in where I thought I wasn't popular enough, and I lived right in the same place and I'm okay here in the same place, so it's like, okay, I'm getting along with them and stuff. Well, I talk to him sometimes. Okay, it's kind of the same as any other place. So I was supposed to come back to my small town. God wanted me to come back here and not be some big giant. Well, I can kind of be famous. You can kind of be famous. You can kind of have money on earth when you have Jesus. Usually, some people. But some people, I don't know. They're not supposed to for some reason. Some can, some can't. And you're not supposed to covet what others have if they have it and you don't. Like, that could go, you know, I don't know. Cherokee religious beliefs versus Christianity. Whoa, versus? No. Oh, yeah. No. Did the Cherokees convert to Christianity? Well, on the part of the Treaty Party, and especially its leaders like John Ridge and Elias Boyd and not, it played a very strong role. Oh. They did become converted. Hey, they became converted to Christianity. Yay! Yay! Native Americans in Christianity. Native Americans! Don't make a joke of it. Native Americans. Okay. Yeah, this is good. Because usually you see Native Americans and Indians. I call them, well, the older generation calls them Indians. Like the guy Al who lived here called them Indians, and they were okay with that. But usually you don't see them in my town. But this town has a mascot of an Indian, or not a mascot. That's our town thing. It's like Roanoke. It's an Indian name, so it's good. But it's not like in Arizona and Nevada when you see a lot of real Native American people still. They keep their Native American customs, but they're Christian. Hey, look at this. This is really good. See this guy? He's a regular guy, I guess. They have a Christian cross, not the mean Christian. Not the mean quote-unquote Christians who fought in wars for Christianity. The entire purpose of Christianity is do unto others as you would do to yourself, and be kind to others. Not to fight in wars and hurt others. That's intentionally hurting others. That's not Christianity. That's not what Jesus wanted. He didn't want us to fight in wars. He didn't want us to hurt others. He never wanted us. He said to forgive others and be kind to others. Not fight in wars, not hurt others. That doesn't make any sense. That's not what the Bible really said. So some people got the wrong idea about it from these bad sinners who call themselves Christian, and they preferred to
not be Christian because they had the wrong idea from these people who had the wrong idea, who were just like really bad sinners and called themselves Christian.
Shit, man. Shit. Anxiety of shit. It's going. Is it going in this cup? Or is it going in my mouth? Is that what the trick is? To rile me into meanness? The devil uses the anxiety. Uses the anxiety to try to rile me into meanness and then try to do something really bad to you, like think of an actual crap going into your mouth. I don't want that. It's one of the, I really don't want that at all. Not something I would like. But then the smell of it and it's like very real, trying to like really make you feel bad, like they want you to act like you're really big and mean, and the devil wants you to be mean to others because of it. It's nothing. There's nothing there. There's no feces going. There's no feces around here anywhere. There's no feces anywhere. Maybe the dog down the hill didn't have enough food, and I had plenty of food, and he was like, I'm gonna take a crap near his house or something. I don't know. But and it was like angels or the devil and demons who tried to use their sin, but not the angels' sin. Angels don't sin. But I think maybe angels come down to earth, and when they're on earth to help us in our lives, they sin a little bit more because they're on earth. But when they go back up to heaven, there's no sin at all in heaven, so they don't sin in heaven. But when they're on earth, they can help us in life. I think they're there somewhere and they help us through life, but because they're on earth and there's sin on earth, they can't help but to sometimes sin a little bit to help us be good. I think that's what that is. I'm trying to figure out what that is. Like, I'll get thoughts of like maybe an angel or something, like someone like that helping me through my life, but I don't know if it's true. And you can't listen to thoughts that you get that are like the thoughts of voices, because they could be bad, good. It could be a demon pretending to be an angel telling you to do something bad. So you can't always listen to that unless you have a really good feeling. Oh, that's good, I should do that. That's really good. That's something I think that angels can help us through life. Sometimes we really know when it's something good and right. Righteous, meaning right. Righteous, not necessarily right or left wing. I don't know. I'm not going to go into politics. I'm just talking about God and Jesus and Native Americans who follow God and Jesus and cave paintings and stuff. Let's look up what the cave paintings are. This is almost sad to see these childlike paintings. I don't want to play that one. How do I exit out of that? Maestro. That one says Lost in the Forest. I don't want to play that one. I'm just going to play this one. I got rid of that one. Okay, let's look at what these cave paintings really are, because they're not from monkey people like that made up evolution says. They're from real human beings who are descendants of Adam and Eve. They just were. That's how it is. Let's see how cave paintings. How old? Yay! This says they're between 40,000 and 14,000 years ago. Wow, back to the Ice Age, it says.
40,000 to 14,000 years ago. Oh, this says a journey to the oldest cave paintings, quote unquote, in the world. That means inside of the world means hell. So it doesn't always mean that. Sometimes it can mean in the world, but these paintings look really good. And I think they misdated them. I think this one misdated them and has them like, unless I'm wrong. Let me see how far back this one goes, because this one's like scary and they try to say, yeah, evil, meanness, sin, evolution. Nonsense. We came from monkeys. We didn't come from monkeys. Okay. This one's okay, I guess. 30,000 to 28,000 BC. Because I think Adam and Eve were from 140,000 years ago, not 6,000 years ago. Because Adam lived about 1,000-something years. He was 1,000-something years old. And Eve, I think, lived 900 years, but I'm not sure exactly. And as they went down the generations, they had a different kind of sin back then. Because the devil had just introduced them to sin, so they had incest. They had to have incest to be able to procreate and create all the people on earth. And every generation down with the incest, they lived less and less long until they got to where now we only live like the most 100 years or something like that, 110 the most, or 60 years, 70. Its average life expectancy, is like 74 or something like that. It went down a little bit with COVID-19. But I'm not that much of an expert on it, but I know that God and Jesus created Adam and Eve, and they lived a long time. And as they had the incest down the generations, they lived less and less long. And it got to the point where it's a really bad sin if we do incest now. It's pretty bad. It's gross, weird, in a weirdo way, bad, a little too weird. It's like a little too much. And when people do it nowadays, it makes their kids barely live that. Well, usually they don't live as long. Wow, those paintings look brilliant. They're from like 30,000 years ago. Or 28. Something like that. That's pretty good. So they had like, from Adam and Eve, they had people start to inhabit various parts of the earth besides right in Eden where they started, where they had eternity on earth. So they had real Native Americans who did not follow the Old Testament. I guess they didn't have the Old Testament as much. I'm trying to think of when the Old Testament was written. Thousands of years ago. Well, 2,000 or 3,000 years ago it was written. The Old Testament. 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. So the Old Testament tells about what happened to all those people before Jesus came to earth and suffered and died on the cross for our sins, so our sins would be forgiven. And all those people waiting in purgatory who didn't know if they'd go to heaven or hell for all eternity, Jesus went down to hell when he died to allow some of them finally into heaven, and then some of them had to go to hell for all eternity. And it said in the Old Testament, the Hebrew, which is the Hebrew Bible, and part of the Bible, and the Bible, it's pretty good. It's good. But the New Testament really completes it. The New Testament is the Christian Bible, but the Old Testament said all those people usually went to hell. They're in Gehenna, and there are not many who are righteous enough to make it into heaven, into Olam Haba. Most of them all went to hell in the Old Testament. And they had various prophets and rabbis who throughout the centuries were shown what hell looked like, I guess, by God and Jesus somehow, and they got to write it down. And it's hell has been in drawings throughout history, depictions throughout history, and so has heaven in really old drawings. I don't want to show the hell stuff, but so most of them didn't get into heaven. And I don't know how many people who believe in God and Jesus get into heaven, but supposedly when you really believe in God and Jesus and you live God's truth and what Jesus preached as his ministry on earth, which is kindness to others, forgiving others when they're mean to you, just kind of like try to not let it bother you or worry you as much if they're really mean, or get away from them if you have to, or like calm down, like the annoying, like the intense stuff, like try to not worry about it as much. In the first world, it's usually not as bad, but it can be pretty bad. But it's not like hell. Hell is really, really bad. I was shown hell. I don't want to talk about that. I hadn't slept in a long time, and I didn't know what I was seeing. I thought it was an Illuminati place underground. They had kept them alive that long with genetic manipulation. But it wasn't. It was really hell. And I figured it out later because it talks about it right in the Bible. It says exactly the stuff that I saw. It describes it the same way. There's very fast, bad stuff in hell. But that's not it. I don't want to talk about that dumb stuff. That stupid. Or it's not dumb. It's really bad. It's way worse than dumb. But this is just regular. These are Native Americans. They probably got into heaven. It looks like they didn't show any hell stuff in their drawings that much. There's just stuff on Earth that they knew on Earth as much, but I don't know. I don't want to look up that hell stuff. This was probably just them a cool thing that they thought looked good that they could draw around their hand to make art. But they're real people from Adam and Eve, even though like a lot of them ended up being Native American and stuff. And I don't know what to say about it. Hell. David Lee Roth, after having all that sex, I hope he doesn't go down to, is what he hopes he doesn't go down to hell. I never had that. I never did that type of stuff that much. But maybe he'll make it to heaven or something. I don't know. But I did mess up and sin sometimes. Native Americans. Native Americans. Maybe there's some other ones. You look up. Hey. The Sioux Indians. Cool, they had these like customs, and they kept the customs, and a lot of them became Christian, and they kept their customs. Oh, don't talk about it. Indians. He looks kind of cool, like even though he's like old, it looks like he'd be like. Ooh. I mean, it would be cool to be like that guy who was dancing in the thing. This guy. Be cool to be like him. In the sun. And he has that like cool looking face that looks like a Native American. This looks a little, I don't know. Gosh, I haven't seen somebody who has a face that looks like that in recent times. Maybe they looked more like native peoples back then or something. I don't know. Maybe he was very old and we didn't know. Maybe he was like 88 or 94. But that's just how he looked, I guess. But I guess that's how he looked. Maybe he was only 58. But he has like a big face. But like a regular body. But I guess that's just how they looked. Whoa, it's kind of scary, some of the customs, like what religion he may have been. But I don't know. No. The Hokie from Roanoke. The Hokie from Roanoke. Yes. I'm sorry. I don't know. He looks like my brother-in-law. Nature sounds. Nature. The devil. No! Nature, instinct. The stink of it, the instinct. The sweat from the pores of the devil. Ew. I hate that crap. Protect us from... I don't hate it. Protect us from evil, Jesus. Protect us from evil, Jesus. I don't like mentioning it that much because it can cause problems. Hey. I don't know what growing space means. I don't know. It's terrifying. Terrifying. No, it's not that bad. Hey, cool. I think that's like a real old picture from the 1700s, or I'm not sure, maybe 1800s. North Carolina. Oh, I guess they have an Indian reservation there. I don't know what this is. Clothes they made. That's something I never got into. I don't know why. I'm not against it, just happen to not get into making my own clothes. I wrote screenplays. I did the acting. I physically produced the entire fictional thing that I wrote. First, I wrote the entire thing in proper format and well, and a really good, and then I physically created the entire thing. But one of the jobs that I happened to do in creating all of that was not, I didn't happen to make my own clothes. But they put me on some panel at some convention one time and kept putting me on the panel like I was a costume person. And it was like they're like, oh, it sucked. It was awful. I never went back to that convention. But I don't know why. I think it's because I went there one time and wore like an expensive Superman suit that I didn't make. And they wanted me to like, I don't know. But it wasn't because of that why I didn't go back. It felt kind of wrong and sinful for me to go, personally for me to go. So I just didn't go back. It wasn't because of the feeling bad on the things where they were like, hey, you didn't make your own clothes. I don't know what that is. Like, I never made my own clothes. I don't know. I don't. And then he made his own clothes. I didn't make my. He believed he made his own clothes. Oh, get him away from me! I made my own clothes. I got a snake. Oh, he made his clothes and has a snake. Oh, he's holding a snake. Those guys look scary in the shadows a little bit. Maybe they depicted them as like, I don't know. I don't know. Whoa, look at those guys. Okay. I wonder if they have pictures from a long time ago. Oh, I'm looking up 1600s. Cherokee Indian 1600s. I think this is like, ooh, that's scary though when it shows that it looks almost like a devil. because it looks like he has horns and they're showing him really strong. This guy looks nicer. I don't know why it's showing an arrow in the back of it. Maybe it's behind his head. I guess it's behind his head. Oh, look at this guy. I don't give a fuck about you. Come on, look in these eyes. He looks like he looks like he'd say that to me. Like he's trying to be a movie star. He's like from the 40s. I'm sorry. Like he'd say that to somebody or something. Like the way he talks. Pompeii hairdo. I don't know. I don't know. Stop making fun of me. I am a Native American. Oh shit! I am a Native American. I'm sorry. They don't care if it's Indian or Native. Well, Al calls them Indian, and he's around them sometimes. He was around them, or he was around them sometimes, and called them Indian, and they thought that was okay because in the old days they called him Indian, like when Al was growing up. This music. Oh shit! Oh no! He married that lady. Oh, terrible. Well, he had a wife and kids. I think 4 kids before, and he was getting famous in Australia. He was getting famous in Australia, and they have Native American. Well, they not American, but they have Native people in Australia there. And he was getting famous, or in Australia, he was pretty famous. And then something happened, and he got a divorce. And then he did Crocodile Dundee. He got really big. He kept getting bigger, and stuff in his resume. And he got a divorce somehow with his wife and 4 kids. And then he met her on Crocodile Dundee and starred with her in the movie. And he married her and stayed together with her for through all the other Crocodile Dundees until he was older. And then they got a divorce. And I think his first wife is still alive, and he has these kids. Paul Hogan, I think is his name. Paul Hogan. Whew. He might not want to. Well, his son looks kind of like him. His son looks like him. So they must have been close. This was like them. It's interesting. Sometimes I see, like, I'm thinking about my life and how did they, these people got. He had a family. He had an entire family, and he was famous in Australia. He was still famous, but not like as big as he really got later in America. Like that was really big. Well, for some people who've heard of Crocodile Dundee nowadays, and that was his original wife and kids. And I think he had more kids. He had one or two more. I think he had 4. And they're Native American people. Well, not Native American, but Aborigines. I had an Aborigine video that was really good that Al was talking about. Long video. But in the video, he really kind of made fun of me a little bit, I think. But maybe I can put the video on public again, because it made me look pretty bad. And he tried to make that what his entire thing was on my channel. It was called Dreamtime after some Aborigine thing. And it kind of like made me look pretty bad the way he was talking to me and stuff. And so many people would comment on it and say, hey, we don't like you, we like him. And that's kind of how he made the thing to be on my channel. But it helped me in many ways to not be selfish, because I was planning, I didn't know I'd get this house. I was going to go out to the woods and make videos of me in really good shape with like in really good shape and looking like a really amazingly good looking movie star. And my videos would finally get big. I wouldn't have to interact with what I would just be with my wife and kids or people like that, or if I'm still married to her, Danica, and loved ones, and stay away from society, way out in the woods. I was going to go out in the woods because there. In 2015, I got anxiety about something going out there in public. I got pretty bad anxiety, and it took a few years to go away. It was the end of 2014. It was this pretty scary stuff, and I'd start to see hell rise from the surface of the earth, and I had to go out there and work in it for my dad and parents. Like, I hadn't worked that much because I was like doing a lot of videos or music videos, and I wasn't working as much for my parents, and I didn't like working for them, and I was giving my all to these music videos and this Animals From Outer Space stuff, have it finally pay the bills, and it wasn't making enough money still, and I had to go out there and work a lot, and I didn't get a lot of sleep, and I could see hell rising from the surface, and I had to go out there and work in it. It was pretty scary. It was really bad. It was pretty scary. It's the worst fear I could have ever imagined during those few years. It was the worst fear I could have ever imagined. And the Aborigines, I finally calmed down. It took a few years at this house, and I found God and Jesus here eventually. I got more and more kind, and I eventually found the truth, what everything's really about, God and Jesus. Who is this kid? Wow, he's got blonde hair, but he's like an Aborigine. They're a separate race from Africans. Wow, look at their hair. They're a separate race, Aborigines. I didn't know that. Wow, look at these Aborigine people. That's pretty interesting. And I wonder what their religion is because, I wonder if they're Christian. I don't know. Is this an Aborigine? I think he's an Aborigine. He looks like an Aborigine. He has like not as much African hair, but he looks like pretty big and scary. Maybe he's nice. I don't know. Wow. That's an Aborigine little girl. She has blonde hair. Can you believe that? Look at those locks. They're different from African people. Wow. Never would have known until I saw this. An owl lived with them. Oh, look at this kid. That's the way he looks. Like he has blonde hair. That looks like, and he looks a little different from African American or something, but he's Aborigine. This guy, I guess, is an Aborigine, and he has like a white person's hair, or an Aborigine person's white person looking like hair. This looks like Owl. That's scary. It looks like it's really Owl. That's scary. It looks like it's really him. It's not. I should save that. No, that's terrible. I don't have the rights to that picture. I'd have to really get the rights to it, but that's scary. I don't want to show that. It looks kind of scary for some reason, like an Illuminati, like, I don't know. But the Illuminati's not real. They're only humans. God created Adam and Eve and all of us humans. The only other weird stuff there is besides the creatures we know of on the earth, or most all of them we know of, there's nothing that weird, are demons and the devil who are down in hell, and angels in heaven. And I think maybe they come down to help us on earth. I don't know. I think there are people who help us on earth, or angels, but because they're on earth, they sin more because there's sin on earth. And they still help us get into heaven, I think. But they're not without sin, I think, because I get thoughts of voices, random thoughts of voices. I'm not saying I hear voices, but I hadn't slept in 2 weeks when I could see the hell rising stuff. That wasn't as good. Oh, this kid looks scary. Wait. I wouldn't do those drugs and stuff that they might have. Yeah. No. Scary. Somebody. Why did I say that? There's somebody who watches this channel who would say that. Oh, that's scary. He might have done drugs. Something hit his nose. I hope the guy's okay. I don't know what they'd be like. This is like a regular person who I'd see around here. This is like, Delando, kill you. I'm sorry. I can't show it. This looks really scary. It's going to make a funny, crazy sound for him, but that's scary. I got to get away from that. That's too scary. 10 hot dudes spreading against the wall. Oh, that's terrible. They're slaves. That is scary. They exterminated the Aborigines. How terrible. That's horrible. Why'd they do that to them? Bet they got into heaven. This one looks like Charles Manson, though. This is terrible. This is Charles Manson Aborigine. But I hope he made it to heaven. I don't know, because he wasn't Charles Manson, but you never know. You can't judge them. But, like, they might be bad, or I don't know. That sucks. They put shackles on them. That's terrible. I hope they made it to heaven. I hope they all made it to heaven. To go through that kind of treatment, you know, they're much more likely to have, when they have suffered like that, to make it into heaven. Even when they didn't have God and Jesus, if they didn't have, unless they had God and Jesus. They tried to attempt genocide of the Aborigines. That is really terrible. It kind of hurts me to look at it. Why is it showing somebody's naked self? I better get away from this stuff because I don't want to show nudity. But it would be like an educational thing. Huh. Wait. Wait. I just thought it looked funny, like he looks like a headbanger or something. Well, that's great. I think for all the suffering they did, a lot of them must have made it to heaven when they did the genocide of them and all that. The Aborigines. Hey, 73% of them identify as Christians. Thank God. Thank God. Only 63% of non-Indigenous Australians are Christians. But there may be many more non-Indigenous Australians, like the white Australians. There may be like way more of them than the Aborigines after they did that horrible genocide, or tried to. Well, I'm gonna go. Okay. So I think they make it to heaven when they have suffered or had it difficult for them to be more righteous, even without knowing about God and Jesus. I think a lot of the Indians and Native Americans had a good chance of getting to heaven because they didn't have a lot of stuff. They didn't set huge goals of making these giant, things on Earth of big goals like having a new looking Ferrari or new Corvette or something like that, and having millions of dollars, and but God and Jesus say it's okay in the Bible. It's okay to slowly and steadily accrue wealth. It's talked about in the Bible. Not necessarily rich, maybe rich. That's one of the ways that it's okay to get money. Slow and steady acquiring money through, of course, work. I don't know how else. Maybe there are people out there who inherit it, but I've never met that many of them. I met one, I think, but I don't know. He got help from his parents, but he worked hard. He's a friend of mine from school in LA. And I think all the people I knew who had kind of rich parents, they worked. They worked at something to make money, but they got help from their parents, but they still had to work. And they had to, it wasn't easy. They've had it about the same as some of the people who I know who are more poor. But I think the more poor people who I know are people who didn't make a lot of money. I think they have a little more likely chance of getting into heaven even without God and Jesus than people who have a lot of money and stuff and earthly things and they don't believe in God and Jesus. Wow, I think it must be a little more difficult for them to get into heaven than someone who is a believer. Okay. So I think that pertains to the Aborigines and Native Americans and stuff like that. Okay. I'm going to go. That was my Friday night. Now I'm going to sleep. That's how eventful my life is. Wow. I thought it'd be social. So I made a video to working at videos. Okay, I'm gonna go to sleep. Bye. Bye. You can check out more videos if you want on my channel. Bye.